Hey, my name is Falasha from BiteMyFashion.com. Are you trying to get beautiful professional style cake smash photos but not trying to spend hundreds of dollars? That was me when my son turned 1, but after a ton of research and a bit of effort, I was able to make the cake and take these photos myself, all for less than $20. I will break down the 4 easy steps to capturing amazing memories with your little one, from prep to setup, taking the photos and edits. So let's get into it. The first thing you need in the prep is a person. This person should be free. It can be your best friend, your baby daddy, your husband. Maybe they're all 3 the same person for you and you're blessed like that. But you need someone to help you do this because the baby's going to be wandering and excited and moving, and you're going to be trying to snap as many photos as possible. So you need someone to kind of entertain the baby and kind of keep them within the frame so you can take the photos. So make sure you have someone to help you out and that they're excited to do this with you. I had to convince my husband, like, come on, it's gonna be fun. He just knew it was my little project, but yeah, get you somebody to help you. The second is the cake. You can always hire a baker to just make a beautiful smash cake. I've seen so many amazing ones. They have the unicorn one and all of these different things on the internet. I decided to do it myself, and I used a simple yogurt-based cake box mix, and I baked the cake. I also made the frosting myself. I found a recipe on Pinterest. It tells you how to make the frosting. I found another recipe or tutorial on how to do the icing. So in my opinion, the cake has 2 main things that are the most important. That is that it's leveled, because that makes it look professional, and obviously leveled means that it doesn't have that dome top. And a secret hack is that if you go ahead and put, like, you cut a towel, an old towel that you have around the house, cut it, wet it, and wrap that around the edges of the pan, and then bake it with that on there. The last 5 minutes, remove it. The cake, instead of cooking the edges and outer part first and then cooking up, it will cook completely even. So this is how I made sure my cakes came out completely flat and very nice. And then for the icing, I did the simple recipe. Like I said, head over to the blog. I'll include the link of the recipe that I used, as well as I learned this frosting technique from a YouTube tutorial as well. Here's a quick little clip of me frosting the cake. Third part of prep, backdrop. I was so worried about how the backdrop would look, if it was too much, too little. I didn't know what exactly a professional style backdrop consisted of, so I did a lot of research and I actually got really lucky in that I was able to keep it super. I used gift wrapping paper. So it doesn't get much easier than that. I used gift wrapping paper, like this roll, and something called table roll paper. It's pretty much a tablecloth that you roll out, and yeah, it's a tablecloth that's used for parties. It's a really long roll, and I used that with some duct tape and used that as the backdrop. So I had 2 backdrops, which worked out perfectly, and you can see it here. This is just how I assembled my backdrop, you could say. Duct tape to the wall. So now that the prep is complete, you need to go on to the setup. We already got the backdrop up, and you want to duct tape that to the wall, or however you want to adhere it to the wall, scotch tape, whatever the case may be. This is just what I found to be the easiest. And you don't even have to do it that high, just high enough for a baby to sit or stand and not show in your photos, if that makes sense. So of course you're going to want to put decorations onto your backdrop, and we'll talk more about that later. But the most important part of making sure that the setup is correct is making sure your location is perfect. Isn't that a thing? Location, location, location. So you want a very good location so that your lighting is on point. You know, you need to catch the light for the baby, catch the light for yourself. You need highlighter and all of it, okay? So what I did, I didn't have any type of special soft boxes or lights or reflectors, ring lights, or whatever the case may be. None of that. I have a big window and that's it. I used all natural lighting and I think it came out really well. You can use natural lighting as long as you prepare. So in those weeks before, leading up to when you want to do your photos, scout out a good location. If you want to do it outside, make sure it's not too sunny, that the light's not too harsh. Or if you're going to do it inside, make sure you kind of see where in your apartment or your house has the best lighting, and take some test shoots. It doesn't have to be anything extensive, but just make sure you know what you're doing and you feel comfortable with that amount of light and the time of day. If you go over to the blog, once again, that's where I'll put the settings that I use, that I had read were the best settings to shoot with to do this type of photography. And once again, I did shoot indoors with natural lighting. So next is the camera. That's an important aspect of equipment, obviously, but you don't need some fancy camera. I have a Canon 700D, I believe it's called, but I'm no camera expert. I'm no photographer. I own this camera and that's the one I used. But if you don't have a DSLR special camera, you can use a point and shoot, you can use your phone. As long as the lighting is really good, you can come close to that professional level nowadays with all the different cameras that are available. But the key point being the lighting, like catch the light. Back to that again. But this is the camera I used, and I used a 50mm aka nifty 50 lens, but I had only recently got that lens, so I didn't really know what I was doing, and I was a bit nervous because it's kind of hard to focus sometimes, especially with moving people or babies. But yeah, I just messed around with it and kind of learned as I went, and it came out fine. But I don't have any other camera equipment. I'm not using anything else. That's what I had and that's what I used. So earlier we talked about the backdrop, but let's go on to what we're putting on that backdrop, and it's all about decorations. But keep in mind, you already got the main points. You have the cake and you have a cute baby. So you're good. Like, you don't want to overshadow your baby with too many distractions, too much stuff going on in the image. So my hardest part was I couldn't find online where somebody really broke it down. Like, I wanted to know, how many balloons did you use? How many banners did you use? Like, tell me so I can really nail this. So this is what I used right here, those running list. But the trick is to also make sure that the theme of your photo shoot matches the theme of the birthday party. So for Langston's first birthday, my son, we did a Langston is a wild one birthday theme. So the wild one, because he's turning 1, obviously, and the wild part is because he's wild, but because it's an Amazonian theme and his father's Brazilian, we also included like the Brazilian flag, and that is how it all tied together. Another tip for decorations is to make sure that you're not creating shadows with your decorations. So if you do have different decorations and they're too large, then you don't want to create something that's going to overcast the baby and ruin your good lighting and your highlight on your child, your natural highlight. You don't want anything that's going to create this shadow effect. So you want to keep the decorations very close to the backdrop so that they're very, like, it's flush and it doesn't create too much of a shadow effect. But you can create layers so it looks a little out there, if that makes sense. So you can move it a little bit off, but if the decorations are too big, it won't really work. So I kept them pretty small, dynamic in a way. So mixing up different types of textures with balloons and banners, but no large objects other than the baby and the cake. Now it's into actually taking the photos. We did the prep, we did the setup. Now let's get the photos done. You want to take the photos probably after nap time, midday, if you're using natural lighting, so the sun's really up and the baby just woke up and is feeling good. Maybe if your child's like mine, needs a little time to kind of shake off the nap and kind of come back to life. But make sure everything is really already set up so you're not trying to move stuff while the baby's in the room because they will get distracted and be trying to move. Just have everything already set up. So that's what we did, and we brought him in and we took kind of the professional photos, I guess you could say, like the headshots with him with his shirt on, and this were like his 1-year-old photo. That was not the cake smash portion. And then we just kind of peeled off the duct tape for that, for the gift wrapping paper, and then behind that I had the white backdrop with the other decor on it, and that is what we used. And then we introduced the cake, and he sat there and went in. Now, when you're taking the photos, you want to make sure that you have it set up in a way where you're really able to get that intimate reaction. So the first time he sees the cake going in the mouth, all of this kind of reactionary photography, which is really intimate, kind of like when you see wedding photos and you're like, oh, I feel like I'm there. So back to the person helping you, here's a few tips. You want them to keep resetting the baby to the positions, because he's or she's going to be crawling, walking, moving, kind of looking maybe back at the props and not at the camera, and it might be hard to navigate. So you want someone kind of there to distract and engage, because at that age babies don't really know to engage with the camera. So if they're engaging with a person, then you can kind of put the camera where the person is and it'll look as though they're engaging in the photo. So you can clap, you can sing a song. I sung the ABC song. My son loves that song. You can do just whatever the baby likes, and then get some snacks like Cheerios or whatever they eat. Put those down as well, so that when they're reaching in, it's kind of a familiar texture or taste. I didn't need to do that because my son went all the way in on this cake and there was icing everywhere, so he didn't really need an incentive. But if you think your kid might not like something that is too new, then you can try this and it'll look as though they're still going in on the cake. And you're done. I would recommend that you take about 200 photos, because if you're a novice like I am, you are going to get a lot of blurry photos, out of focus, ones that are out of frame, whatever, but you're destined to find a few within there that work. So I just took as many photos as I could, up close, backwards, further back, and all that, different angles, whatever I thought was cute or might work. Fake it, figure it out, try to get your paparazzi on, pretty much. And there you go. The post edits, I used Photoshop and Lightroom to edit these photos, but once again, I have no idea what I'm doing. So I went to YouTube University, learned some Photoshop, Lightroom edits, but if you don't have access to those programs, because they can be quite expensive, you can, as long as your lighting is good and everything else, you followed all the other steps, you don't need some over-the-top editing software to make this happen. You can use, like PicMonkey or a free online-based editing software. So I'll show you the before and after of the edits that I did. And you can't really tell a huge difference. So I would say you can just use whatever editing software you have to kind of bring it to light and make the picture pop a little bit more. So there you have it, the prep, setup, photo taking, and post, and you're good to go. I hope this was helpful. Like I said, go ahead and hit up the blog at bitemyfashion.com, and I will include some written instructions as well as the links and other blogs that I went to be able to create this effect. If you think I did a good job on this DIY photo shoot for a mama on a mission, okay, I'm not a professional. I don't know what I'm doing. But if you think it came out really well, go ahead, like and subscribe, and support this channel. If you don't think it came out well, remember, if you don't got nothing nice to say, don't say nothing at all. All right, until next time.